Hi there, everyone. I wanted to talk today about argument from authority and creationist claims. So let's get started. I wanted to talk about the argument from authority because before I made the video about claims making, and this is kind of a follow-up, and I know a lot of people do this. They argue from authority. Now, when you've read information, that's great, but you still need to cite where you got that information, because even though you're well-read, we can all be wrong about something, in fact, many things. So it's great to cite that and always be ready with rhetorical evidence and know the argument before you present it. This is something we don't often see with creationists, and that's because the evidence that's out there contradicts what they think that they have, especially when it comes to creationist websites, which should never be considered quality sources, because unfortunately people try to justify things by the Bible, and when you go to try to justify something by another source that can never be verified, then your source is incorrect and the foundation for it doesn't work. So what you have to do is find a source that actually works, something that is a work in progress, something that is updated. And I've said this before in claims making. But the problem is that creationists don't like to look outside of what they're comfortable with for evidence. And that's because the evidence doesn't support their claims. Just like somebody was upset the other day about the fact that we have gill slits. And I saw a creationist website talking about gill slits. And we do have gill slits in the embryonic stage. Those only last for a little while, and then the gill slits turn into glands, which ultimately become hormone glands. But they are present, and that's part of our evolution. We are deuterosomes, we are chordates, we are amniotes, and we are bipedal primates. So all of that is very true, and it's very present during our embryonic stage. We do look like fish. We have a postanal tail. We have a notochord. We have all of the evidence that shows that if those genes didn't shut off, we would eventually look just like a fish. But fortunately for us, evolution has worked so that genes do shut off and other genes do switch on. And then those gill slits go away. But they are present. And this is just one of the things that creationists like to avoid. The coccyx, the appendix, those things which, you know, are vestigial organs. We don't really need them to function. People don't like to admit to this because it kind of is a flaw in their creation idea. And there are many of those, very many. But creationists don't like to go outside of their own websites. And they don't like to be presented evidence which counteracts everything that they think they know. And this is a problem because then they can't argue from authority. But you see this in everything, including politics, personal ideologies on child rearing, everything else like that. And the problem is as a community, we have to stand above that. So when you want to talk about a topic, it's good to research it. It's good to understand where you can find good quality scientific evidence or factual evidence. And there are a lot of biased sources out there, one way or the other. And there's always rhetorical evidence, but you have to weigh the value of rhetorical evidence. Who said it? Or where did they get the information? Was the study competent? Is it something that you really question because the person who's presenting it has a personal bias, so they directly invested themselves in this research? Because there is creation, quote-unquote, science going on. The problem with creation science going on is that they purposely try to bias it. It's sort of like saying, I see T-Rex has teeth, they're serrated edges, but I still don't believe that T-Rex ate meat. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look for evidence counter to that, even though 99% of that evidence speaks to that. So if they found that a T-Rex had a coprolite that was found in history with a piece of plant in it, they would want to say, well, this proves that you're wrong. No, this proves that T-Rex could have eaten a herbivore, could have eaten the stomach of a herbivore, and of course, not all of that would have been digested. So you really have to qualify what it is that's going on out there. And our society, unfortunately, doesn't have great critical thinking skills. They tend to believe things based upon how they feel. And how you feel is not a valid reason always to believe something or to do something. So you have to question, why do I feel this way? Am I right? And could I be wrong? And those are very important critical factors to how we think, and breaking pattern thinking and sheep mentality, which a lot of people have. They'd rather follow than lead. And the atheist community is ahead of the game on that, but we still have some problems with not reaching out to find enough evidence for what we're saying. So it's something that we need to work on. But we need to bring it to the other communities as well, especially the Christian community, because they're not doing any of the above. We have to push them to think harder. And it's not just about God. It's about politics. It's about child rearing. It's about everything that they think that they know what they're doing. Because the problem is, it's not just one area of their life. Religion, unfortunately, carries over to many areas of their life. So they're not critical thinking in a lot of things. They just take things at word and deed. And when you question them about why they believe what they do, they tend to get defensive, insult, call names, and try to degrade you, disqualify your opinion or the facts that you present. And so it gets kind of ugly. But the problem is, we can't give them a pass on this, because this is what's happening in society. We see that a lot of people are getting a pass on their completely inappropriate behavior. And so if somebody's going to treat you inappropriately, I would say don't waste your time on that person. But if you see somebody is paying attention and they are curious, spend some time with that person, because more than likely you can convince them to understand the argument better. And you may not change their mind, but you might change their mind about atheists, or you might change their mind about why atheists have a good argument. And that is a very important thing, because right now what we need more is people who understand where we're coming from when we say that we don't believe in God, or don't see evidence for any gods, or won't believe in any gods until there is evidence for those gods. And furthermore, a great way to attack their arguments is to bring their own argument to them. And I've been doing this. You have to read a lot into religion and theology and understand where they're coming from, because a lot of these people go around and assume that they're educated in the Bible, the Quran, whatever it may be, and they're really not. Because let's face it, human beings have very busy lives. We do a lot of things on a daily basis, and nobody really makes time to sit down and read the Bible, because once you do, you realize not only is it hideous, it's disgusting, and it's boring. So, the boring part being who begat who else, and it's all males, and it's very misogynist, and it's very devious, and full of killing and hate. So I think a lot of Christians avoid their own book because of that. They really don't want to face that. So to argue from authority, really bring that to the argument. And there are places on the internet, www.quran.com, where they give you translations and verses. You can even look up the Hadith, which a lot of Muslims refer to. You could look up the Bible, and there are very many versions of the Bible. So you have to ask the person specifically what religious ideology they are and what they follow. Hinduism isn't a saint either. They treat their women very badly. There's really not many religions that don't. So really go after that, especially if you're dealing with women, because I think that they're the ones that we really have to convince to leave these ideologies. Seeing as how they're so very toxic to women, and it's ultimately them that are paying the price. So that's pretty much all I have for right now. But when it comes to making good arguments, take the time, find the resources. ncbi.gov is the scientific resource for everybody who's published. You can go to Scientific America, The Scientist. Those are quality sites. Anything that is on Google Scholar is a published paper. I'm not going to say that it's all quality, but it is at least published. And the problem with Google Scholar is that, like I said, there is Christian Science going on, and theirs somehow published, and there are some shady sites out there publishing scientific papers that shouldn't be. These should go through a rigorous process of peer review. So you have to be really cautious. NCBI is the best source for that, because the government does have standards for peer review and for who gets published, and those have to be accurately checked, and something that's usable and something that's continued research that's part of the public arena. So that's a great resource. You can go to thebible.com for anything that you have to do with the Bible. The Catholic books are online as well. So use those resources, become the authority, and make sure that you always search for a better authority than you to speak to what the claim is that you're making. And, try to deal with these creationists the best that you can, because changing minds is very important. I often don't have the patience for it, because honestly, I could spend every day of my life dealing with one or more of them, being that my wall is open. And so I find that it's more of a waste of time, because those who come to attack my wall often don't want to hear any evidence. They just want to make an argument, make me look bad, and try to get people to question the veracity of my statements on a daily basis. And I just get exhausted with it, because honestly, I came out of religion, and I was very well versed in the Bible, and I've had my day in the sun with it. And I mean, having a few years as an atheist has changed that. I'm getting to where I can look at it again. But I know that feeling of just leaving religion, and you're very angry and you're very hurt that you believed this myth and bought the lie. So I can understand where people are coming from when they're upset and they don't want to deal with religion. But it is important, because obviously we're winning the war. And the more we get a hold of children, and the more that we change their minds about, is there this divine character out there watching over them? Is all of this spiritual woo going on? Are they missing out on something because they're going to go to hell? Or, is there a heaven? We really need to tackle these subjects with everybody. We need to especially get to the children, because that's what religion is doing, and it's tainting our world. And if you've looked at politics lately, you can see how badly that's going. So yeah, take the time, at least try. And I know it's daunting and it's tedious, and I know that especially for myself, a lot of times I just don't feel it, like it's not in me. But I have realized lately that it is an important role that we play, and it's vital that we educate others. So keep up the good work, keep trying, become the person with authority, and I should say, and present authority. And when it comes to creationists, stand up and make a difference, please, because we need everybody being as active as we can about changing people's minds for the better. Thanks, guys. Bye.